We thought last summer, when we kicked the Tories out, when there was a huge rebellion against 14 years of austerity, that things would improve. But for disabled people, they've got worse. And that's the disgrace. This Labour government was elected to change. They were elected on a manifesto that said there was going to be change. And what they've done since they've come into power is they've attacked working class people, poor people, disabled people. They've attacked pensioners by scrapping the winter fuel allowance. They've refused to address child poverty.
We stand here today, not just in protest, but in solidarity, in resistance and in grief. Because once again, this country is turning its back on disabled people, on carers and those living in poverty. Not by accident, but by design. Cuts to independence payment cuts and disability support, endless assessments, endless humiliation, and still, many of us still do not have enough to live on.
The DWP said PIP cuts will only affect 300,000 people. This is a whopping big lie. The Freedom of Information request has now exposed the truth as to the scale of the proposed cuts to PIP, close to a staggering 1.3 million disabled people. This includes disabled people who need help with things like cutting up food, supervision, prompting, assistance to wash, dress or monitor their health conditions under the proposed changes. These people will no longer be eligible for PIP.
Millions were cut out of public spending, and the results we see around us everywhere. Increased poverty, increased homelessness. And that government was kicked out in the hope that this government would come in and change things. But what we're seeing is more of the same. Austerity Mark II. When
Starmer wrote in The Sun that this was a moral mission that he had to do to cut disabled people's benefits, he showed his moral bankruptcy as well as his political bankruptcy.
This is not just neglect. Let's be clear. This is plain violence. This is state-sanctioned, bureaucratic violence. And it is not only happening under the Tories, but it is happening under Keir Starmer's Labour government. Let's not kid ourselves. The Labour leadership has made its choice. It is choosing to not oppose austerity. It will not challenge the system. It will not defend the social safety net that we fought generations to build. Why? Because it's busy chasing votes from the right while abandoning its soul.
What we know is that every time that they spew out this poisonous rhetoric, there's an increase, a spike in hate crime. There's a spike in mental distress. There's a spike in people taking their lives and losing their lives.
When you live in a vacuum, when you refuse to inspire, when you refuse to fight for people, that vacuum, as we're seeing, is filled by hate. So what happens when Labour refuses to be a vehicle for working class power? When it mimics Tory cruelty in softer tones? When it says, we'll just be tough on benefits, just as hard on the poor, but they say it with a red rosette.
These aren't small things, there are big consequences for what this Labour leadership is doing. So we have to say very clearly to them that this is a fight to the end, and you ain't going to win. Disabled people against cuts, disabled people up and down the country are going to fight you every way. And we're going to make this Starmer's poll tax. He either reverses or he goes.